The NFL draft coming up on Thursday with the first round and continuing on Friday and Saturday. Of course, we'll be covering it fully here at SportsNola.com from the Saints War Room at the Saints training facility where we are presently. Mickey Loomis spoke today, and Brian Ellie Walsh, our beat writer for SportsNola.com, was here. Brian, as usual, much ado about nothing, and he did his job. He's not supposed to tell us anything. Your impressions?
Well, and he had two hot topics to deal with today. One, of course, the draft, and the other one is the ongoing litigation with the league. So he had a lot of broken field running to take care of. He did his best in answering. I still think that if they stay at 24, Kenny, they're going to take their best player on the board. And if it's a running back, yes. If it's a defensive end, yes. I just think they're going to go where they feel their best money, their best buy is.
Any gut feeling at all?
No, not really. But I will say this. I think if Mark Ingram is there, I think they take him.
Les East, of course, also covering the Saints for us at SportsNola.com. And Les, again, not much to say here today, but we all have a pretty good idea about what's transpiring. What do you see happening in the first round where the Saints are concerned?
Well, I agree with Brian. I think they'll take the highest-rated player on their board. They're in a position where they don't have to reach for a particular position. I think there's a good chance that'll be a front seven player. They need a playmaker who can rush the passer, and the way Greg Williams likes to play defense, you want a guy who's versatile, can play multiple positions. So a lineman who can play inside or out, player who can rush from a down position, maybe drop into pass coverage, I think would be their ideal scenario. I agree with Brian. If Ingram's there, I think they would probably take him. And I thought it was interesting that Mickey Loomis said it's business as usual. The ruling yesterday has not affected them yet until the league tells them to act differently. They're going to let that play out through the courts, and they're assuming that all their free agents are going to be signed. So they're acting as though this draft is taking place in a vacuum.
Draft analyst is Al Dupuy, of course. He has Draft Day Report, an outstanding publication, and now you've done your mock draft, and you already have your guy in the first round at 24, and he is?
I got my guess, Adrian Claiborne. But, I agree with the first two guys. I think you rate the draft, you take the best player on the board. The only way I think they take a running back is if the defensive linemen, the defensive ends or tackles that they like are gone. I think there'll be a couple of defensive ends there when they pick, but is it defensive ends or tackles that's high on their board? That's the question. I think there are about 13 defensive linemen that's going to go in the first round of this draft. But when you get down to 24, do you have one left? Do you have two left? Do you have nobody left that the Saints like? So if that happens, then I think they go to the running back, Mark Ingram. But I think the defensive line first, if there's somebody still on the board that they like.
Shopping list other than defensive line?
I think if they take a defensive line with the first pick, I think they still get a running back, but I think they go to the third round. A guy I like there is DeMarco Murray from Oklahoma. That's a guy that can return kicks as well as he has outstanding speed. He's 215 pounds. He's similar to Pierre Thomas in the fact that he catches the ball really well and runs well after the catch. So I think if they're going to fill some of their needs, like Mickey said, you can't fill everything, but they'll do the best they can.
Renee, your thoughts about the first round, and what do you see them doing with their 4 picks overall, and do you see them trying to acquire more?
I think they're going to go with a defensive lineman first round or a linebacker, as Les and Brian and Al talked about. Something that may surprise some people. I really would not be surprised to see the Saints go for a wide receiver in the first 3 rounds, probably by round 3. I think wide receiver position maybe needs to jazz it up a little bit. All the guys they have there now, long-time veterans and things like that, and I just think they need to give it a little more pizzazz. Also, Mickey Loomis talked about not having a 4th, 5th, and 6th round. May take one of those 3rd-round picks and trade and get additional picks. I wouldn't be surprised because I think just more bodies, more people, and I think the fact that he did allude to the fact that many times not having a pick in subsequent rounds, it makes you wish you did, and I think you'd much rather have maybe some additional picks in 4th, 5th, and 6th round, so you may see him trade out one of those 3rd-round picks.
I think there's a possibility the Saints trade down in the first round. That's all predicated on who's left from a defensive line perspective. As Al alluded to, you've got as many as 13, maybe even 14 guys that could go off the board in the first round. If that's the case, and there's still somebody there at 24, or maybe two there that exist, there's the possibility of trading down and still being able to get the guy that you want in that situation while accruing another draft pick, as Renee alluded to. I think that's a real possibility as opposed to trading up and targeting someone else. I do think that the Saints have a pretty good idea about what they want to do, and I don't think it's a smokescreen that they like Mark Ingram. Doesn't mean they will pick him, but you have to ask yourself, why would you re-sign Pierre Thomas? Why would you keep Reggie Bush? You've got Ivory, you've got Hamilton, and they found value without having to pick running backs high, with the exception of Reggie Bush. In fact, they haven't picked them at all. They've gotten them as free agents, so that kind of leaves open the door to passing on a guy like Ingram if he's there. Bottom line is, it's going to be fun to watch. Of course, we'll be part of it coming up Thursday, Friday, and Saturday here from the Saints training facility with full analysis, full coverage of what transpires with the NFL Draft at SportsNola.com. Gentlemen, as always, thank you. Keep up the great work, and we look forward to you coming to us and participating in our live chat throughout the course of the weekend at SportsNola.com.